Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are well. I hope you had a lovely bank holiday weekend. Classically, it's probably the nicest May bank holiday weekend we have ever had, naturally. For those of you that don't live in the UK, basically we have this bank holiday weekend at the end of May every year, and basically every year it rains. Apart from this year, because quarantine. Now, last week I talked a little bit about the jumper I was wearing and who had made it, and I decided that I wanted to basically do a little segment at the start of as many videos as I can before I run out of things that I've bought, which might take us a scarily long time, to talk about a creator or a small business that I just want to give some love because I think they're amazing. And this week it is Rhian Kate. Now, I have been looking for a jewelry maker that makes their own stuff that I really love, that isn't astronomical prices, for so long, because I really love jewelry that's a little bit unique. It's a little bit different maybe, but it's still very classic in its style. I'm not somebody that wears super chunky rings or big bright earrings, stuff like that. It's just not my style. So when I started to find Rhian's designs, I was like, I want them all. And I'm not kidding, like if I could buy her entire website, I would. So I actually have 3 pieces from her at the moment. I have my eye on, I mean, like I said, the whole website, but your girl's got to curb her spending somewhere. And so obviously I wanted to point out these ones that I am wearing today. So these are her sunshine hoops, which I just think are just the most beautiful name. Obviously I'll have them linked down below, but they're like a sterling silver hoop with a little brass disc that hangs from them, and I just think they're so beautiful. And they're just really simple, really classic, but a little bit different, and I love. I also have her little moon studs, which have been my go-to everyday earring ever since I bought them from her. And I also actually have a necklace from her, which I'm not wearing today because it's a one-off, so I feel a little bit bad being like, look at this beautiful necklace that I have. You can't buy it. She's the loveliest girl. We've had a little bit of interaction on Instagram, and also she writes a little note with everything that she sends out, and it's based here in Cardiff. She's an independent business, and I just love everything she's doing. I'd like to make it very clear, I am a complete paying customer. I have bought everything from her. I just think she's amazing and she should get some more love. Now, I'm sure you've all seen the posts all over Facebook that are like, my top 10 videos and I got tagged to name my top 10 albums, blah blah blah, or it's like my top 10 photos, something like that, and they're always with zero explanation. And whilst I kind of get that, because writing out explanations for things takes forever, I'm always that person like, but why? I want to know why. I'm nosy. So tell me why. So I thought that I would do a little video based on the music that has been hugely influential throughout my life and my career. Maybe it was a piece that actually got me into this career in the first place. And I just find these kinds of things really interesting. So if you are nosy like me and you want to know a little bit about how I kind of started down the path to becoming a professional musician, then keep watching, because these pieces and these albums and these works are hugely influential in all of that. So these are in no particular order. Like, number 1 is not my most influential. I couldn't really put them in an order. I did try, and then I was like, you know what, let's just list them off and be done with it, because otherwise we're literally going to be here all day. And you're probably thinking we're going to be here all day anyway, because this intro has been probably the longest ever. So my first one is the Vivaldis 4 Seasons work. Now, this is a hugely popular, very well-known work, but for me, growing up as quite a young child, this was my just absolute favourite. We had a, here we go, we had a cassette tape that I used to listen to over and over again, which was kind of based on, it was a dramatisation of a little period in Vivaldi's life, and it had all of his music as kind of the backing to it, and I just loved it. I loved listening to it, I loved the music, and as soon as I was capable of playing some of the music on my violin, I immediately started doing so. And for me, it was definitely the winter section of that whole work that really spoke to me the most. I remember really vividly sitting in our old house, practicing my violin, practicing the third movement, I believe it was, and just crying. I was a really young child, but it really affected me on quite a deep emotional level. And I remember declaring to my mum that one day I was going to play the Four Seasons work as the soloist in the Albert Hall. That was like my goal. And obviously I became a viola player, so that kind of put pain to that idea. But I had such a clear vision of what I wanted to do at such a young age, and this piece was a huge factor in that. So it definitely gets quite a big place in this list. So number 2 is a bit of a contrast, but it's actually the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack, particularly Curse of the Black Pearl. Now, I love film music as a genre. I think it's incredible. I think some of the best writing of our day currently is being done by film composers. I just love this music. It's really inspiring, and it gets you quite pumped up. I actually used to listen to this a lot in the gym, and I was always it used to make me kind of smile to myself. So I was like, if somebody comes over and asks me what I'm listening to right now, I'm gonna be like, Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack. Don't judge me. This film was really the one that, just kick-started my love of film music, so therefore it definitely has to have a place in this list. So number 3 is actually Mahler's Second Symphony. Now, I love Mahler's works in general. He's one of my all-time favourite composers. I can't really put my finger on exactly what it is about his music that I love so much, but I absolutely adore it. And this Second Symphony I want to mention specifically because we performed this when I was at college, and it was in my second year, I can't remember, quite early on. And prior to me going to music college, when I was applying, my dad was not totally convinced about me going down the freelance musician route, which is fair enough, it's not the most financially stable and all these things. And I remember we got a standing ovation for this piece, and it was quite an emotional performance anyway. Just something really magical happened on stage that day, and we got a standing ovation at the end of it, which is always incredible. And I noticed that my dad was stood up, and I was quite surprised because, like I said, he'd been very, very supportive, but he'd also sort of said, I hope you know what you're doing, kind of thing. And then we finished the concert, got all my stuff together, went out to meet my parents at the front, and my dad kind of greeted me, and he was quite emotional. And I just remember in that moment, I think that was the moment where he kind of really got on board and understood why I was doing what I was doing. He said something along those lines of, I get it now. And I just remember that being a real oh yes, I've convinced him, I guess. I've shown him why I love this and why I'm so passionate about it. And so that was a really special moment. And so this piece will always have a very, very big place in my career. So the next one are basically all the Brandenburg Concertos, specifically 3, so stay tuned for something quite fun that's happening with one of those. But I love this music. It was such an inspiration to me more as a teenager, playing this music. So I grew up being tutored through Beecham and then Gloucester Academy of Music, or GAM, and we had this string group called Prima Corda. And really it was sort of the highest level group that existed at GAM, and so it was quite a thing, when you made it to that. I'd watched all my siblings go through it and, get into Prima Corda, so when I got in I was quite proud of that. And something that we used to do quite a lot was to play the Brandenburg Concertos, and I'm pretty sure it was Simon Chalk who did it with us. It was either him or Peter, and I can't 100% remember this, so Simon, if you're watching this, remind me. But we used to just have so much fun playing these, and there was just such a life about them. And I remember us being told at the time that this was basically the rock music of the day. It's got a beat to it, and it's got a real drive. And I remember us all kind of laughing because, a bunch of teenagers being told that some Baroque music, classical music was, rock music was quite funny. But I've always loved these. They cheer me up no matter what. If I'm having a bit of a down day or I'm not feeling very motivated, particularly if I'm not feeling very motivated to play or practice, then I'll whip out the music to one of these and just kind of have a bit of a bash through it or listen to it, and it just gets me right back in the zone. So love the Brandenburg Concertos. They're just so joyful and just really, really fun. Now, I wanted to put Bach Romance in here because it's a piece that sort of scares me, and I know that sounds kind of silly, but I played this quite early on in my learning the viola experience. So I played it first when I was about 16, 17 and loved it. I just think it's just one of those really beautiful pieces of music that's not overly complicated, but just kind of speaks for itself and does its own thing, and I just think it's stunning. And it's one of those pieces which I almost feel like I'll never be able to do justice to. And while that may not be the most helpful thing to think when trying to work on something, it's a real aspirational piece for me. I really want to be able to do it justice, and it's something that really drives me on to improve and to get better, as we always can as musicians. So yeah, I put this one in here because it's my one day kind of piece, but also I don't know if I'll ever get there, but that's okay. And I know it's a bit of a strange one. This is the hardest one for me to explain why I love it so much. It's my driver piece. It's the one that one day I really hope to be able to do justice to. So the next one is Donnies' String Trio, which I actually performed as part of my final recital at college. I chose to do a major chamber recital because I had a string quartet that I'd worked with a lot in college, and they'll sort of feature later on. But I was, I'm a chamber musician and an orchestral musician at heart. Doing solo stuff is fun and it's fine, but it's not my love in life. So I wanted to really kind of go out with a bit of a bang, I guess. It would mean that I could do my final recital in the Dora Stautska at college, which is the incredible concert hall there. I could do it with my best friends, and it was just, it appealed to me on a lot of levels. So I was a little bit torn as to what to perform, because I was getting marked as my final recital, so it was a weighty thing. But obviously the other people on stage with me weren't being marked, so it was a big ask of them. And I remember going into Zoe's office, and Zoe was to be honest, I can't actually remember exactly her job title, but the mum of college, we'll call her, because she just kind of looked after us all. But she actually suggested this piece to me, and she told me, who would you, in an absolute ideal world, who would you pick to play this with you? And I picked two girls, Sophie and Gemma, who I actually didn't know that well at the time. I just knew that they were absolutely stonkingly amazing players. So I asked them, I approached them if they'd do this piece with me, and amazingly they said yes. And we just had the best time putting it together and performing it. And it's a really hard piece. It was very ambitious for all of us, but we did it, and we did it justice, and we just had the most fun performing that on stage. There's a movement which is, I think it's the second movement, and it's really fast and very chromatic and tricky, and it took us a long time to get that together. So it was a real labour of love, and we worked so hard on that piece, and I'm to this day really proud of that performance that we did. So yeah, this has a very special place because it was a real, again, it kind of proved why I was doing what I was doing and that I was capable of it. My third year at college was quite tricky in a lot of ways, both personal stuff going on and at college. So my fourth year was a real kind of celebration of all that hard work and pushing through. And for me, that final recital was just the absolute icing on the cake and was just so much fun. So yeah, this one had to be in here. The next one is Brahms Clarinet Quintet, and this is basically for the same reasons as the Donnies String Serenade, because I had a string quartet at college with three guys. They were just a massive part of me loving my time at college. We got on so well as a string quartet. A lot of people who came in and sat in on our rehearsals, if we asked them, to come in and listen or whatever, they'd be like, you guys are so, blunt with each other, are you okay? And we'd be like, yeah, we're fine. We're like, these are some of my best friends, what? And we just had that amazing relationship that is, you can't manufacture it, of being able to be so honest and quite blunt with each other in the rehearsal room. You step outside and you're back to being just friends, and that is just such a hard thing to achieve, that I think that was a really special group. So we performed this clarinet quintet with their housemate and a good friend Mikey on the clarinet, and we just had so much fun putting this together. It was just a real joy to perform it and to work on it, and we had some incredible chamber tuition from some just amazing tutors, and they were really enthusiastic and quite supportive of us as a group doing this, and that again made it really special. And just to use this as part of my final recital, like I said, there was nobody else that I really would have wanted to finish the whole college experience with. So yeah, if you guys are watching this, thank you. You guys are the best. I miss you. I miss playing with you so much. But yeah, this piece was just holds so many amazing memories for me. Okay, so this one's a little bit of a cop-out because it's basically a whole genre, and that is the genre of musical theatre. I love it. If I had the voice to be on stage, that would be just the absolute dream. So I make do and just play the music instead. But I just think it's just so inspiring, and going to the theatre and watching a production or being part of it, being in that pit, that camaraderie that comes with it, there's just nothing else like it in this industry, and it is my absolute favourite form of escapism to go and watch a show. I don't do it nearly enough, and that's something which this whole lockdown has really taught me, is that I want to do that more. The joy and the music and just the experience is something that's really, really unique. So the whole sphere of musical theatre is being put in here. Now, I wanted to put Variations on a Theme by Thomas Tallis, which is just a bit of a mouthful, on here because this was the piece growing up that I have just the strongest affinity with because we played it all the time. It's written by Vaughan and he was based in Gloucestershire. So the Gloucester Academy of Music obviously played a lot of Vaughan, and to be honest, I could have put a few of his works in here, but this one, my first memory of doing it was on a big string day, which was basically every musician, young musician in Gloucestershire, it would seem, getting together and playing a concert, putting on this work. And this piece works really, really well because you can kind of divvy it up and you can make parts easier and whatnot. So I've played this in Cheltenham Pump Rooms, in Gloucester Cathedral, I played it in Tewkesbury Abbey, just so many incredible venues, and that experience of being on stage with that number of musicians as a young musician was hugely inspiring and hugely formative in my love of that experience and wanting to do it as a career. It's something that, if I'm flagging a little bit, that's a memory that I go back to. It's a piece I listen to, and it's an incredible piece of music. I love it for what it is, but I love it for the memories associated with it and that inspiration that I had from playing it at such a young age and being part of it, and also kind of working my way through because I played it several times as a child and then as a teenager, and then I've actually played it as a professional now as well. So having that kind of timeline mapped out, and when you revisit a piece and you go, you know what, I didn't used to be able to play that bit, I can play it now. It's a nice feeling, and it's fun to be able to map your progress. So yeah, I put this one in here because it was just really inspiring to me as a young musician. Now, I know that I said this list didn't really have an order, but I have kind of left this one to the end on purpose, because if somebody said to me, you are only allowed to listen to one album for the rest of your life, I would probably, and I'm probably going to eat my words one day, but I would probably pick this one. And it is the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, because there is a reason that this has won so many awards. I don't know if it's won Best Soundtrack ever, or if it was nominated for it, something like that, but there is a reason for it. If you are somebody that does not normally listen to classical music because maybe you don't really think it's your thing or whatever, I beg you, listen to this soundtrack. Fellowship of the Ring is probably the one which has got the most kind of breadth of stuff on it concerning hobbits. It's just such a beautiful little tune. But to be honest, any of them would do for the second or the third film. And they're just incredibly written and just really underrated in wider society. Like I said, they've won awards and it's, incredible. But I do think it gets overshadowed by things like Star Wars and Superman and all that kind of stuff that's very iconic to hear. It's also something that now has added kind of layers for me because the Lord of the Rings trilogy, especially the extended editions, let's be real about this, they're better. They're just better. They've got all the funny bits in. Why can't the funny... Anyway, beside the point. Are my husband's and my favourite films to watch together, and so they've kind of got that a little added emotive touch, I guess. So it reminds me of him, and I would love to perform this music on stage at some point. That's an absolute career goal of mine. I definitely had to give it quite a big mention. If you haven't heard it, or if you've only ever really listened to it when you watch the film, please, 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 just put it on and have it on while you're doing whatever, or I love to have it on in the car. Makes epic driving music. Immerse yourself in it a little bit, and yeah, I promise you will not be disappointed. You can come to me personally if you do not like it. I will happily take that on. So yeah, those are my top 10. I could have picked other things, there were so many, and to be honest this was actually really hard. I just wanted to put together a list of basically stuff that I think you should go away and listen to. Listen to them and just, yeah, see what you think. I'm such a massive advocate for people listening to classical music because they may well have just dismissed it and thinking that it's not for them. So please do go and listen to some of this, and you'll find stuff you like, you'll find stuff you don't. That's fine, that's what this is all about. As always, please come follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I've got a blog, and obviously please subscribe to this channel, like this video if you enjoyed it. And yeah, I release videos every week, so come back for the next one. And I hope you're all doing really, really well. I will see you in the next one. Bye guys. And breathe. I'm sorry, I get very excited. I get very excited talking about this. You guys make an excellent mirror, thank you. Is the money? Why are composers' names so hard to say? Why do they do this to us? Why? Do I own any other water bottles? Yes. Do I use them? No. You're quite sassy with this. Just wanna do this a lot. Problem with longer hair. If you go running with your hair in a high ponytail, you whip yourself in the eye. Discovered that the other day. So I wanted to put. Fair enough. I really need people.